The Ogalala lace bracelet is really kind of cool because there are several different places that you can stop at and make a completely different looking bracelet. You can stop after the end of one pass and get a very sleek, streamlined bracelet. You can stop after 2 passes and get kind of a romantic, delicate feel. Or you can go all the way to 3 passes and get a really full, ruffly effect. We're going to show you how to do all of those things. But first we have to start out with a little ladder stitch. Here I am using fire polish crystals instead of seed beads, and we're going to create the center of the bracelet first. I'm going to start out by ladder stitching these fire polish crystals together. If you need a little additional assistance with ladder stitch, you can refer to my ladder stitch technique video and get a little more information there. When you ladder stitch the fire polish beads together, it's a little bit different than ladder stitching any kind of seed beads. And the reason is, and I'm going to show you here, there's a lot of extra thread that shows between the beads. It's because you're taking a rounded shape and trying to get them to stand up like little soldiers. But I'm going to show you when we get to the end here how we're going to fix that. So we're just going to work on getting these ladder stitched together. Okay, we're going to do one more and then we're going to pretend that that's the length that I want. You know how I like to make these Barbie bracelets in my videos. We'll just get these off to the side. Now to tighten this up and make this a little less wonky, we're going to do the weaving back and forth thing. And all that means is I'm not even going to go around in circles, although you could if you wanted to, but I'm just going to zigzag back through these fire polish crystals. And as I do that, it tightens them up and makes them stand up so that they don't look like they're drunk anymore. There we go. Oops, this last one just wants to hang out like a crazy person. Okay, there we go. So now it's a much more symmetrical kind of look. We are ready for our very first pass of seed beads that we're going to add. And the way we're going to do that is simply to pick up 3 seed beads and pass down through the next fire polish. And we're going to zigzag back and forth doing this. Pick up 3 seed beads, pass down the next fire polish, 3 seed beads, pass through the fire polish. You're going to notice that this is only adding the seed beads on every other intersection between these fire polish crystals. So what we're going to do, now that we're to the end here, we're going to zigzag back the opposite direction. Pick up our 3 seed beads and go back, and this will fill in our gaps. One of the reasons that I do this is to help hide the thread that is sitting along that top edge between the fire polish beads. So it's decorative and it has a purpose. Okay, last one here. Now when I get to this end, I'm going to do something a little different. We're going to actually build the loop end of our clasp into this bracelet. And to do that, we have to just get it started now. We're going to pick up 7 seed beads this time. And then 1 more fire polish. And then another 7 seed beads. And pass back through the fire polish that's there. So we created this extra loop, this extra spacing, and this is where a toggle bar will sit in the future. Now that we've got that attached, here's the thing. If you look at this top edge here, you've got the one edge of the seed beads along the edge, we're actually going to add another whole set of these seed beads. So what you just did with the picking up 3 seed beads and weaving down and up, we're going to do all over again. So now we're picking up 3 seed beads, passing down the next fire polish, 3 seed beads, passing down the next fire polish. And what's going to happen is you can see right here that the 2 sets of 3 seed beads are going to sit right side by side. So you're going to do that all the way down, all the way back again, so you have the sets of 2s on every single intersection. When you get to this end here, you'll pick up another set of 7 seed beads, go through the fire polish, another set of 7 seed beads, and come back. And then we're going to be in position to start our next set of waves. So get that done and come on back and we'll start working on that second set of waves. Now we're all ready for the second pass of embellishment, but that's only if you want to do a second pass of embellishment. I'll show you what I'm talking about. After you've done this first pass of embellishment and you've got, the 3 seed beads side by side all the way on both sides of the bracelet and attaching that little clasp band there, this actually makes a really beautiful bracelet on its own. Okay, it might have to be slightly bigger, but you see what I mean. This is a very simple bracelet for somebody who likes something that's not too fluffy and flashy. So at this point, if you wanted to, you could actually just attach your clasp on the other end and you'd be done. But I'm not done, so let's keep on going with some additional embellishment. I have my thread coming out of this fire polish that's 1 in from the clasp bead. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass through the first 2 seed beads of 1 set of these beads on the edge. It does not matter which set you start with. But that has me coming out the middle seed bead of that, what I like to call these waves. So now I'm coming out the middle seed bead of the wave. For my next set of waves, I'm going to pick up 5 seed beads every time I create a new wave. So the first pass was 3, our second pass is going to be 5. And to attach it, I'm going to pop forward and pass through the center seed bead of the next wave over. You do want to make sure that you're staying on the same side as you're adding these waves. While it doesn't matter which side you start with, it does matter that once you've picked a side, you stick with it all the way. Pick up another 5 seed beads and pass through the center seed bead of the next wave. And you'll work your way all the way down, 5 seed beads at a time. Now here's an option for you. Where I'm using 5 seed beads, if you are a glitz and glamour girl, what you could do is use 2 seed beads and a fire polish, a really small fire polish you'd have to use, and then another 2 seed beads. And so that way the middle of this set of 5 seed beads would be a fire polish bead, and that adds a really nice little touch too. So I'm working on my way all the way down. This is going to be my last set of waves on this side. Okay, so 1 set is done. I'm going to pass through this last fire polish to turn around and work my way back on this side. So I pick a side, go through the first 2 seed beads, and then I'm going to add my little waves of 5 all the way down. When we get to the other end, I will need to show you what we're going to do with that strange little clasp bridge that we've got going on down there. Getting a knot in my thread here. This is something that obviously happens with bead weaving. What you want to do is try to get it out of trouble before it's all tightened down on you. There we go. That was a pretty easy one to get out. If you get a really troublesome knot, what you can do is take your needle tip and kind of wiggle it inside the knot. You just poke it inside and wiggle it and keep wiggling until that knot loosens up, at which point you can usually get it out. Okay, so another set of 5 here. Makes me feel like I'm in math class, except it's a lot more fun than math class because it sparkles. There we go. And 5, we'll get this little stray here. Pass through the center bead, almost down to that end. Okay, so this is the last of the sets of 3. Now, here we want to add waves on these sets of 7 that attach this clasp bead also, but obviously 7 is not an even number and it's not a multiple of 3. So what you're going to end up doing is basically fudging it. You're going to pick up 5 beads and then I'm going to fly over, and in this case I'm going to go through the 4th bead. You could pick the 3rd bead or the 4th bead, and that's roughly the middle. And then I will pick up another 5 beads. And then I will pass through the last seed bead and the fire polish bead. I'll come out one seed bead. Then we're going to do the same thing on this side where I'm just going to kind of fudge it. So it's 3, 4, 5 seed beads. I'm going to pick, I'm going to do it the same that I did on this side. So I went through the 4th bead from the end. And then another 5 seed beads. 3, 4, and 5. And then we're going to catch that very last seed bead and then back through the fire polish. When all is said and done, nobody is ever going to notice that that is not centered. It's one of those things that you just kind of deal with. So now I need to work on, that only takes care of one set of those 3s, right? So let me kind of lay these waves of 5 down. You can see that they're only attached on one side. We want to go back in and add waves of 5 on the other side as well. So I'm just going to kind of poke my needle through over here. I just poked it underneath the beads so that I could get to where I've got the sets of 3. And then just like you did the last time, we're going to pass through the first 2 beads here. And you'll add your sets of 5 the exact same way. So all the way down, turn around, all the way back, add the sets of 5 on the clasp bead. And at that point, we'll come back and start talking about wave 3. There's one more optional pass of embellishment that we can add here. But first I wanted you to take a look at the bracelet now and see that this is another perfect time that if you preferred something that was a little less fluffy, this would be a great bracelet all in and of itself after the second pass. So this just has kind of a delicate, this has a little bit of a delicate look to it. It doesn't have quite the ruffle that we're going to have when all is said and done with the final 3rd pass. So again, if you wanted it to stop here, that's a perfectly great place to stop. You would just attach your clasp to the end of this piece as is. But instead of doing that, we're going to add some more sparkle and shine on this. And what we're going to do is right here, my thread is coming out where I've just finished adding this last set of waves of 5, and my needle and thread is coming out of the center seed bead. So I'm going to travel through the last seed bead in that first wave of 3, travel through the fire polish to get to the other side. I'm going to work my way, so I'm coming out that center seed bead in our wave of 5. That would be the last one that we just did. So to get there, I have to go through the first 2 beads of the wave of 3, and now pick up the 3 seed beads, first 3 seed beads of the wave of 5. And that has me coming out the tip of that wave. And usually on the waves of 5, it's really easy to see where that tip is. It usually kind of just pops out. Since we've done 3s and we've done 5s, guess what we're doing next? 7s. And you've got 2 options here. One is to pick up 7 seed beads and pass through the tip of the next wave. Your other option is to add a small fire polish bead in that wave. And in that case, you're going to pick up 3 seed beads. I've got a small fire polish here, and then another 3 seed beads. So that's still 7 beads. It just happens to be that 1 is a fire polish. And you'll pass through the next wave. It was through the tip of the previous wave, I should say, the previous row. And you will just add that all the way down, just from tip to tip. And so it's 3 seed beads, fire polish. I usually like to add a fire polish on this last wave. I just think it adds a little bit of extra glam. And go through the tip of the 5. You're going to work your way all the way down, turn around, work all the way back. And you want to make sure, and this time when you go to that funky end with the clasp opening, you already have something there. You'll have the center bead in this set of 5s already established, so you don't have to do any cheating this time. And work your way down, and then you're going to have to do that same thing again on the other edge of these sets of 5s. So you want to make sure both sets are covered. Once you finish that 3rd wave, you are really close to being done. And we just have to come back and talk about adding the clasp. And then also I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you add an end thread in this particular bracelet.
Okay.
So now you've got a bracelet that's full on Ogalala fluffy, and it's really quite dramatic, isn't it? The last thing that we have to do is to add the clasp to our piece. Here's how we're going to do that. I've got this all finished off with my ruffles of fire polish on the outside edge here. I've worked my thread so that it is coming out the last fire polish bead on the side that doesn't have that clasp opening, because this is where our peyote tube toggle is going to go through. We need to attach that toggle on this other side. I've already created this peyote tube toggle bar for myself. You will want to reference my peyote tube toggle video if you need help figuring out how to make one of those. Here's how we're going to attach it. You're going to start out by picking up 8 seed beads. And I like to go ahead and bring that down to my work. You're going to eyeball on the peyote tube toggle where 2 seed beads in the center are. And they're going to be on the diagonal, so don't let that fool you. But the 2 on the center, on the diagonal, you'll pull that through. You'll pick up 2 more seed beads. And then, just for a little bit of decoration's sake, I separate out 5 seed beads towards the bracelet and pass back through the 6th one, going back towards the bracelet. Hello. There we go. And then we'll pick up another 5 seed beads to create the other leg of this little piece that we're making, and go back through that big fire polish. And that is our join. Now once you have attached this, you want to go back and reinforce that path 2 more times, because your clasp is the point of most wear and tear, and you want to make sure that it's nice and extra secure. To finish off your thread, we're just going to pretend that I've gone ahead and reinforced that. To end your thread off, and you would add thread the same way, what you want to do is tie knots, and I like to tie them down in that first set of seed beads that we added, so kind of towards the center. They get hidden really well that way, and also it's a good way, if you get too far off into the ruffles when you tie your knots, it's really easy to accidentally get those all, I don't know, looped up into your thread, and it kind of causes a problem. So right where I'm at here, I'm going to just loop under the thread that's already there. There we go, caught a thread. Pull it down so that there's a little bit of a loop. Pass through the loop. Tighten down slowly so that that knot goes right down in that intersection. And then I move a couple of beads away, and I do the same thing. Now one way to keep these ruffles out of your way is I like to kind of hold them back with my hand. This way, as I'm pulling my thread, they're not going to get accidentally looped into the thread and get involved in that whole knotting process. So if you then needed to add thread, you would do it the same way. You would just start a new thread a little ways away from where you needed to end up, tie a couple of knots along the way, and then work to where your old thread ended and keep working wherever you're at. You will not get to the complete end of your bracelet with one thread. You'll have to add thread at least 2 to 3 times. So I also wanted to show you that while this makes a fabulous bracelet in 3 different sections, you can also make a simple necklace pendant with this. On the necklace pendant, I just created a small section of the fire polish. I went to where I added the second set of waves, and then just attached a piece of beading wire through that top fire polish, and it made a really pretty little necklace. So this is a good way, again, it's a good gift project because it's something that you can complete fairly quickly, and you can give that away and make somebody else smile too. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have fun making lots of Ogalala waves.